Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 134. Without any delay, start explanation. Upon obtaining his two remaining spirit items, Tang Wulin skipped merrily to his dorm, stopping by a restaurant to buy lunch on the way. The campus dining hall closed as it was. By the time he returned, the sun had just reached the middle of the sky. His agenda was to break the next seal immediately to empower his blood essence, then visit Shueisha for guidance. With that in mind, he made his way to Yuan and Yehue's room and knocked on her door. "Come in." Tang Wulin did, catching the strangely domestic sight of Yuan and Yehue in the middle of cleaning. She was lightly dressed in a tank top and short skirt to fight off the sweltering summer heat, bent over with a washcloth, thighs exposed. Tang Wulin felt his face catch fire, averting his eyes and stopping in place. "Shouldn't you be a bit more cautious?" Yuan and Yehue didn't bother looking up. "Why should I? It's not like you like girls." "Huh?" Tang Wulin could hardly utter a word. "I don't like girls?" Finally finished cleaning, Yuan and Yehue rose from her bent position. "You just got back from your trip to Heaven-Do City, right? Everything go well?" She was quick to change the subject. The image of Tang Wulin and Yu Jingyu's clandestine affair was still seared into her mind, the most awkward brand. It gave her goosebumps just thinking about it. But she wasn't one to judge, the type to let others live their lives as they saw fit. Tang Wulin cracked a bitter smile. "It went well. I nearly died, but that's about it." "Huh? What happened?" Expression slightly hardening, Tang Wulin recounted the tale of his brush with death on the train. "An evil soul master?" Yuan and Yehue's eyes went wide as she clenched her hands into tight fists. "What's with you?" Tang Wulin asked. She shook her head, her complexion pale. "It's nothing. Just remembered something from the past. Anyway, I'm surprised you managed to survive that. Actually, I have no idea what happened at the end or how I survived. I fell unconscious at the last minute, and when I woke up, my uncle master had already rescued me. He told me he found me unconscious, so he doesn't know what happened either." He brought a hand to his lips. "Maybe the evil soul master thought I was dead and left, or he sensed my uncle master coming and didn't have enough time to finish me off. I have no clue." A pause. Eventually, Yuan and Yehue spoke. "I don't think either of those things happened. But I can't think of any other explanations either." "Were you injured?" "I'm fine. Fit as a dragon," Tang Wulin said, flexing his biceps with a sunny smile. "I forgot how tough you are." Yuan and Yehue smiled wryly, remembering his perseverance in their last battle, his refusal to give up. "Like a cockroach." "Yuanan, can I ask a favor of you?" "What?" "I'm about to make a breakthrough and I want to go into seclusion for a few days. If you don't have anything to do off campus, could you help protect me during it? There shouldn't be anyone passing by, but still. All you'll have to do is make sure no one bothers me for a few days," Tang Wulin said. "How many days will it take?" Yuan and Yehue asked. "I'm not sure, but I think at least 3. At most 7. With the fourth seal already weakened and his body stronger than ever, Tang Wulin was confident it wouldn't take too long. She shrugged. "Okay. Call me when you're ready." "Great. I'll pay you back with a piece of spirit alloy after." Her eyes shone. "Those were your words. Remember that. You can't back out. I want one with a harmony rate over 90%. A tight smile formed on Tang Wulin's lips. "Are you after my life? 90% is way too much and will take too long. Let's make it 80% and we'll have a deal. Shouldn't take too long to forge one." "Deal." Yuan and Yehue got what she had wanted, pitching higher than necessary. The odds of success for a 90% harmony rate were too low after all. Even if Tang Wulin had agreed, no one knew how long it would take. After a moment of thought, Tang Wulin said, "I need to prepare some things first. I'll be ready in about 2 hours." With no proper way to store his 4 spirit items, he didn't want to delay any further. It was better to break the seal while the potency of the items was at its peak. Once he returned to his room, Tang Wulin shut the curtains, then got on his bed to meditate. This was his fourth time breaking a seal. He had been fully prepared for the first two. Abruptly broke the third. There wasn't a trace of anxiety in his heart for the fourth. Rather, he eagerly looked forward to what he would gain. He wanted to experience the rush of power into his veins and the might of his second blood essence soul ring. The first golden soul ring granted him the golden dragon body skill, providing a massive boost in strength and combat power. He could only imagine what the second would grant him. Tang Wulin hoped that the next skill he gained would be a long-ranged attack skill. No matter how he looked at it, ranged attacks were definitely his weakness right now, completely unbalanced with his close combat ability. As Tang Wulin mulled over his thoughts, he brought out 4 boxes from his storage ring and placed them on his desk. 1 box was made of wood, 2 of jade, and 1 of metal. He opened the wooden one first. An intense aroma immediately struck him. Within sat a brilliant flower with over 100 golden petals. Each petal was covered in fuzz, the entire flower coiled up to fit in the box. A single sniff got his blood essence boiling. The flower was a 1,000-year mystic heaven chrysanthemum. A rare spirit medicine that strengthened a person's limbs. Even at the 1,000-year level, it was extremely rare. Tang Wulin opened the next box, a small one made of yellow jade. Inside was a sepia lump. It was ugly compared to the chrysanthemum, but an air of power swirled around it, its aroma thick and heavy. It was a 1,000-year pine spirit mushroom, also known as the scarlet spirit mushroom. It had a gentle character and mellow energies that nourished one's internal organs. While not the best spirit mushroom around, there was no denying it had the most mild character, able to tame the wildest of spirit medicines when ingested together, allowing the user to absorb the energies easily. And the mushroom fell slightly short of the chrysanthemum in value, an almost insignificant difference. Next was a green jade box. Tang Wulin slowly lifted the lid, sighing as he breathed in a bright fragrance, life and vitality incarnate. A string of small fruits sat inside the box, about 40 of them altogether. They were all the size of a bean, a shade of lush green jade. In truth, the box had originally been pure white, dyed the fruit's color after holding it for some time. Simply breathing the air from the box invigorated him. A 1,000-year life fruit. Its name stemmed from its tenacious will to live, the fruit growing only in the most barren of lands, praised as the greatest treasure of the deserts. If anyone lost their way there, they would be saved as long as they found this fruit. A single berry was enough to sustain a person for 10 days. A truly magical fruit. Its existence in such barren terrain, one of the many mysteries of the world. Tang Wulin had purchased it from the Tang sect. It had cost quite a large sum of contribution points. Old Tang had reminded him several times to get one with at least 30 berries. He went above and beyond that, getting his hands on a live fruit with 40. It was even more valuable than the mystic heaven chrysanthemum. He moved on to the final box. The box was made of a silver metal, completely sealing any fragrance that lay within. He pressed a button to unlock it, the lid opening up in one fluid motion. A black object with a metallic luster sat at the base, and upon closer inspection, a pattern of 11 dark purple rings could faintly be made out on its surface. This was 1,000-year purple cloudwood, a wood with peculiar characteristics. It was harder than most metals, and was actually toxic. Ingesting it would cause metal poisoning. It only took a small amount to endanger an ordinary person's life. Fortunately, its hardness made it difficult to ingest. In spite of how dangerous purple cloudwood could be to normal people, for soul masters it was a wonderful treasure. By pouring soul power into it, a soul master could transform the wood's toxicity into an energy that could strengthen their body and increase their flexibility. This 1,000-year piece of purple cloudwood couldn't be found in ordinary markets. It was priceless. Tang Wulin couldn't help but sigh as he gazed at the 4 spirit items. He needed all of them just to break the 4th seal. The mere thought of what the future seals would require made him start to sweat a little. He had to make more money. Tang Wulin stood up from his desk and brought over a basin of water he prepared earlier, He placed the pine spirit mushroom in it first, letting it soak for 10 minutes. Next he put in the mystic heaven chrysanthemum. The water took on a weak golden hue the moment the chrysanthemum entered it. After another 10 minutes, a sepia color seeped from the mushroom and encroached upon the chrysanthemum's golden domain. Third was the purple cloud wood. The instant it touched the water, inky colors spread from it, giving the water a muddy quality. This was a secret recipe old Tang had told him about. Of the 4 spirit items, purple cloud wood was the cheapest. This was mainly due to its excessive hardness that made it difficult to use, as well as its strong toxicity. A single mistake could endanger the user's life, so few dared to use it. However, when combined with mystic heaven chrysanthemum, the situation became entirely different. This recipe took advantage of that. The chrysanthemum excited the wood, and their medicinal properties spread through the water, mixing together. The wood's toxicity faded away. It was now usable as medicine. The value of this recipe couldn't be measured. Purple cloud would only cost 1/6 of the mystic heaven chrysanthemum accepted value, but if this recipe became widely known, the purple cloud wood's price would skyrocket. When the water finally grew calm and its color deepened to an impenetrable darkness, Tang Wulin took the 1000-year life fruit out of the basin and ate it. The fruit wasn't tasty at all. It was painfully sour to the point that it made Tang Wulin's teeth ache. Even so, he endured the unpleasantness and ate every single one of the fruit's berries. As he did, life energy surged through him. Saliva welled up in his mouth, transforming the sourness to a burst of sweetness. He then swallowed his saliva, and the sweetness spread through him as well. An ethereal high filled his body, a sensation that he quickly became drunk on. He felt as if he were an ascetic that had reached enlightenment. Tang Wulin's skin took on a green glow as he finished eating the fruit. Oblivious of this, he picked up the basin and gulped down its contents. Ugh! It tastes gross. The murky liquid ran down Tang Wulin's throat, combining with the life fruit he had just eaten. A sharp bitterness joined the sweet and sour that pulled at his tongue. His brow furrowed, a frown of disgust warped his mouth, and a groan escaped him, but even so, he forced himself to drink. The thought of how much money this dark mixture was worth gave him every reason to keep drinking. He absolutely couldn't waste it. It was now that Tang Wulin's stomach showed its might. He withstood the harsh taste of the liquid, which waned as he drank, and all of it disappeared into his belly. It left his belly fuller than before, but that was it. He still had room for more. The remains of the 3 spirit items sat at the bottom of the basin. They hadn't completely dissolved into the water, but all 3 looked nothing like they had before. The mystic heaven chrysanthemum had transformed from a dazzling gold to a dull grey, its aroma completely absent. The purple cloud wood now looked like an ordinary chunk of wood, the purple rings gone from its surface. Although its spiritual energies were gone, the pine spirit mushroom had fared better than the others, simply turning from sepia to black. Tang Wulin was amazed by the recipe. It used the properties of the 3 spirit items, exploiting how they reacted to one another to draw out all of their energies and medical potency. Then Tang Wulin's stomach started to churn and ache. He rushed to his bed and began meditating. Only now would the breaking of the seal truly commence. The mystic heaven chrysanthemum and purple cloud would both possess powerful medicinal properties, and with their toxic edge having been dulled from being combined, their medical potency had grown exponentially. The inclusion of the pine spirit mushroom in the recipe, on the other hand, was meant to mellow out the other 2 spirit items further and nourish the user's organs. The life fruit was added to boost the user's life force. The 4 came together in a perfect fusion, minimizing risk and maximizing benefits. In spite of all of that, Tang Wulin was in intense pain. He could feel his stomach and the surrounding muscles spasming. He had to fight back the urge to vomit everything he just ingested. He couldn't afford to squander all the money he had spent on them. Spirit items worth millions of credits and points were in his belly. Tang Wulin's miserly nature easily overcame such an insignificant level of pain. He clenched his jaw and endured, urging his soul power to circulate within him, carrying the medicine along with it. The pain gradually transformed into a blazing heat. The green glow of Tang Wulin's skin became scarlet, as if he were a human lobster. The heat inside Tang Wulin grew hotter and hotter, rampaging through his body. All of his pores opened up, releasing a thick medicinal aroma. Outside of Tang Wulin's room, Yuan and Yehui sat cross-legged, guarding the door. Her nose twitched, smelling the aroma. Astonishment colored her face. She couldn't believe how potent it was. A single whiff of it had relaxed her body. She straightened her back and continued to take in the medicinal aroma, breathing deeply through her nose. Back in the room, Tang Wulin's entire body felt like it was on fire. A faint golden glow rippled within him, through his veins, muscles, bones, and organs. He somehow knew that this golden light was the reason for his insane recovery ability. It was this recovery ability that had saved him numerous times now. It's time to break the fourth seal. Spurred on by his soul power, the medicinal energies assaulted the fourth seal. The seal shuddered, a boom rumbling within him. Tang Wulin's entire body trembled. He saw a golden light envelop his body and heard a draconic roar echo from deep within himself. He could feel everything inside of him being dyed a radiant gold. Before this, every time Tang Wulin broke a seal he had either been unconscious or had his eyes closed. This was his first time seeing the changes that occurred to his body when he broke a seal. He could feel the fourth seal splitting open, releasing a torrent of energy that dyed his entire body gold. This energy began fusing with his flesh, bones, and blood as it devoured the remaining medicinal energy to empower him further. The golden energy filled him, and he felt bloated, fit to burst. But his body, hungry, ravenously so, ate it all up. Pain. That was all Tang Wulin could comprehend at the moment, his flesh bubbling from a searing heat, blood vessels bulging from his skin. But it was insignificant compared to what he had endured in previous seal breakings. The radiant energy of the Golden Dragon King poured into his body, rushing quicker and quicker, to the point of bursting. Yet the pressure began to decrease, his body gobbling up the energy and repurposing it into his own strength. A sense of liberation and excitement washed over him, the cells of his body singing, brimming with energy. They resonated with the crescendoing draconic roar within him. The parts of his body hidden from his view took on a pattern of golden veins. They were mostly concentrated on his back, shining resplendently so. Tang Wulin's aura of might rose to the sky, gusts kicking up around him. His blood essence raged through his meridian channels like a roaring river. Golden scales manifested on his forehead. They gradually turned translucent, sparkling crystals that encrusted his skin. Scales spread across his right arm, shoulder, and the right side of his torso. Then they spread further. Empowered by the energy of the Golden Dragon King, they encroached up his neck, claiming it as their domain. Then they turned their sights to the unscaled side of his torso and shoulder. They stopped short of covering his left arm. The golden veins across his body flared brighter than ever, tracing deeper and wider into his skin. The cry of his blood essence. A golden soul ring emerged from his body, spinning around him. Then a second emerged. A faint trim of white at its edges, this new ring bled pure gold an instant later. The cracking and popping of bones. Tang Wulin now stood a few centimeters taller. Blood essence and soul power mixed within him, the soul power growing purer under the blood essence's influence, strengthening his body further. Unknown to Tang Wulin, his blood essence had always influenced his soul power, but at this particular moment it was to a higher degree. Rather than directly increasing his soul power, his blood essence continuously refined and compressed it. The body was a vessel in which its volume and the strength of its meridian channels and itself were closely entwined. But there were limits to how large it could grow, even for a titled Dolor. In order to maximize their strength, they compressed their soul power so that a denser, more potent form of the energy filled them. Usually, only soul kings and stronger compressed their soul power, since that was when the limits of the human body began revealing themselves. Tang Wulin, however, had long since started compressing and refining his soul power thanks to his blood essence. This was the true cause of his slow cultivation speed, and were it not for this, he wouldn't have been able to stand on the level as Yuan and Yehui. The value of compressed soul power became more apparent with strength. Wrapped in a blanket of warmth, Tang Wulin submerged into the depths of his mind, throwing himself fully into meditation. His soul power and blood essence resonated, a gentle thrum to the energies as his scales twinkled in the darkness of the room. Now was the time to consolidate the power he gained from the fourth seal into his own. When the medicinal aroma finally faded from the air, Yue opened her eyes. A day had passed. The sun shone brightly in the morning sky. She stood up and stretched her back. Astonishment colored her face. She felt like a new person. She had drawn out all the impurities in her body, a sticky layer of a mucus-like substance on her skin. It felt disgusting, but the fact that she had become stronger from this cleansing was a comforting thought. She did, however, face a problem. Because of her deal with Tang Wulin, she was currently in the middle of guarding him and couldn't leave to wash herself. But to continue on in such a dirty state was unthinkable. She took a tentative sniff of her body. And nearly choked. She scanned the area, ears perking up. Sure enough, there was no one else to be found in the working students' dormitory. She directed her gaze back to Tang Wulin's door, heard his deep and steady breaths, and decided he wouldn't wake up anytime soon. It would be fine for her to wash off in the courtyard. Yue always kept her promises. Since she agreed to guard Tang Wulin, she would do so until the end. She had benefited from the leaked medicinal aroma too, so she couldn't just leave, especially with her righteous heart. She drew up 2 buckets of water, grabbed a set of clean clothes, and walked back to the courtyard to wash herself. She could handle the cold water. Checking once more that Tang Wulin was deep in his meditations and assured that he would stay that way, she threw her dirty clothes off to the side, emptying a bucket over herself. A smile graced her lips as soon as the water met her skin. She felt refreshed with the muck off her body. Her wet skin glistened under the sunlight, a hint of pink to it, a shine to it that wasn't there before. Just what is Tang Wulin up to? His medicine is so potent. Yue was without a doubt quite lucky. Because Tang Wulin already had a strong body and only had 3 soul rings, he couldn't absorb the full extent of the spirit item's medical potency. For that reason, Yue was able to use the energies that had leaked. Furthermore, if she hadn't been there guarding him, the energies leaking out of his pores would have gone to waste. Fortune allowed her to absorb 1/3 of that medical potency. Another cause for the medicinal energy leakage was that Tang Wulin's body had already been full to the brim of the energy of heavenly treasures, courtesy of Shenhua's beneficial foods. Yue looked down at her rosy skin, astonished. Before this event, her figure had been slender yet still possessing the curves and charm of one stepping into the sphere of womanhood. Now this coupled with her newly clear complexion, her delicate and pink skin. She had grown even more beautiful. She stretched her body, which glistened under the sun. A radiant aura around her, she could have been a goddess for all the world knew. She ran her fingers through her hair, tugging past the odd tangle and knot, the cool droplets still running down her skin and leaving tracks wherever they went. Satisfied, she moved to turn around and dressed when all of a sudden her ears caught a muted click. The sound stood out among the quiet ambient noises of nature. She hastily grabbed her clothes and threw on her jacket. A modicum of decency restored, she directed her glare to the bushes behind bushes. There were a few splatters of blood there, an oddity in the peaceful courtyard. With a shout, she leaped toward the bush, her body already swelling with size and power as she summoned her Titan giant ape martial soul. Someone yelped in the bushes. "No! Don't hurt me! I just got here! I didn't do it on purpose!" A scream filled the air as the figure in the bushes dashed out and away with ghostly steps. Yue threw a punch at the peeping Tom, sending in their way a blast of air powerful enough to obliterate a boulder. They were as slippery as an eel, figure a blur as they ran through the courtyard. In the end, Yue didn't land a single shot. And then she recognized who it was. "You bastard! I'm going to kill you!" Xie. The question of why it was always him peeping on her ran through her mind the first second her brain had put 2 and 2 together. Then her fury caught up and before she knew it, she vowed to deliver her wrath. While Xie was home during break, he found that his cultivation speed had slowed. This made him want to work harder, to improve his cultivation. The thought of Tang Wulin and Yue, both of whom had stayed behind on campus, motivated him. He decided to return early to cultivate with the two, and thought it would be fun to keep it a surprise. He never expected his work ethic to serve trouble to him on a platter. Blood trickled from Xie's nose as he fled. He wiped it away, struggling to process what just happened. He had walked in on Yuan and Yehui in the nude. Although he had only stayed for a fraction of a second, barely long enough to catch the smallest glimpse of her, his own body had betrayed him. Blood had rushed to his head, leaked from his nose, and ruined any chance of a stealthy retreat. Xie could complain as much as he wanted, could shout his grievances deep inside his heart, but he understood what sort of character Yuan and Yehui was. It had taken so much pain and effort just to build and maintain a normal relationship with her, but now he had accidentally peeped on her again. This time, however, Xie refused to take the blame. She had been washing herself in public. Since she didn't go back to her room to wash up, he could only assume she did so on purpose. He wondered whether talking could settle things peacefully, but that line of thought was quickly derailed by a blast of air that rushed past his head, narrowly missing him. The blast of air exploded a short distance from Xie, unleashing a mighty gust of force, the full brunt of which he only managed to avoid by using Ghost Shadow Perplexing Step. Having used the secret art so much this past semester, he had grown exceptionally skilled in executing it. His footwork resembled the ethereal movements of a wraith. Yuan and Yehui couldn't hope to catch him. "Stop and pay for your crimes," the girl snarled. "I refuse." Xie shrieked as he moved even faster. "I'm too young to die." In truth, Xie could just flee the working students' dormitory grounds right now and call for help. Any teacher still on campus, but that would bring disciplinary action upon both of them, Xie for peeping and Yuan and Yehui for assault. Furthermore, news of her being seen naked would spread and bring shame to her. He refrained from making the easy choice, not for his sake but hers. This meant that all he could do was try his best to evade her attacks while staying within the ground of the working student dormitory. So he gritted his teeth and pushed onward. "You think you can run?" Yuan and Yehui hissed. She drummed her chest with both arms, her fourth soul ring lighting up as she activated Devil Titan. Yuan and Yehui punched out with both her fists, shooting two blasts of air at Xie. The air streaked toward Xie, swift as lightning, and collided with each other a few meters away from him. They erupted in an explosive tempest, throwing Xie off his feet and into the air. "She's so strong." Xie's eyes went wide as he struggled to stabilize himself in the air. It had been quite a few days since he last sparred with her, but she had already grown so much. Yuan and Yehui crouched to the ground, then leaped into the air, hurtling toward Xie like a cannonball. She was upon him in a flash, bearing down upon him. Xie was just an ant before her tyrannical might. However, Xie's heart had calmed down during the chase. Outclassed as he was, he still managed to react to the sudden attack. His third soul ring lit up and he summoned a light dragon clone. In a shimmer of light, Xie split into two to create two identical Xies. The two pushed off against each other, narrowly avoiding Yuan and Yehui's attack. Yuan and Yehui thought her attack was going to hit, but Xie had managed to dodge it. Ignoring the hiccup in her attack plan, she threw a fist out at each of the Xies. Booms rang out, and two blasts of air were immediately chasing after the clones. The two clones landed on the roof of the nearby dormitory, then raced away with Ghost Shadow Perplexing Step and descended back to ground level. Xie had spent countless hours practicing his control over his clones, and now his efforts were bearing fruit. Although Yuan and Yehui's air cannon attacks were powerful, they didn't have a large area of effect, and she couldn't go on a rampage while on the grounds of the working students' dormitory either. Minutes passed, and she still couldn't catch either of the Xies. "Stop and fight me if you have the balls," she shouted. "I'd be stupid not to run," he shouted back. After all of this running away, he had grown just as fed up with her as she was with him. He couldn't believe how unreasonable she was being. If any of her air blasts had hit him, his skin would have been torn off. He could only imagine what she would do to him if she caught him. "Fine. Keep running." Yuan and Yehui suddenly shrunk back to normal size, but her muscular bulk was replaced by a pair of pitch-black wings that blossomed from her back. She had exchanged the domineering 4-ring power of her Titan giant ape for the speed of her 3-ringed fallen angel martial soul. Yuan Yehue suddenly accelerated, a devilish sword manifesting in her hands. She flew a few circles in the air, sowing seeds of darkness all over the dormitory grounds. Darkness encroached upon the region, enveloping everything with a gloomy stillness. It was the descent of Curtain of Darkness. Ever since she lost to Tang Wulin's team, Yuan Yehue had thrown herself into her cultivation. Both her martial souls were the best of the best, so she needed to do was get better at using them and her strength would skyrocket. Curtain of Darkness took advantage of the angelic characteristics of Yuan Yehue's martial soul to unleash all of its might. A third of her soul power had been spent in an instant, converted into this shroud of dark fog. It was thick and corrosive, a large-scale crowd control attack. Yuan Yehue excelled in both long-range and close-range combat. Her only weakness was her lack of speed, and she had trouble facing agility-type soul masters like Xie. In order to compensate for this weakness, she used Curtain of Darkness as a brief attack to restrain her opponent. Although it consumed quite a bit of soul power, she just needed it to last long enough for her to close in on her enemy. Then she could switch back to her Titan giant ape to beat down her foe. This was a tactic she hadn't used before, and unfortunately for Xie, he was to be the first test subject for this combination attack. Both Xie's felt their bodies slow down as if they were trying to run through a quagmire. The encroaching darkness dulled the light that shone from their bodies and drastically decreased their speed. In this murky fog, their steps faltered, and they were no longer able to use Ghost Shadow Perplexing Step to its fullest potential. Then they saw Yuan Yehue flying toward them. Her body swelled with power as she descended, and in a flash she was back in her Titan giant ape form, smashing her fists down at them. Yuan Yehue understood how Xie's clones worked. As long as a single clone remained, the main body wouldn't be damaged. There was no reason for her to hold back yet, and she attacked before the Shroud of Darkness could fade away. Right before her fists connected, Xie sensed the power behind them drop. She didn't use air cannon either. Is she going easy on me? With no way to evade, Xie gave in. He stopped trying to run, closed his eyes tight, and braced his arms in front of him to receive the blow. A bitter smile spread across his face. A boom thundered through the dormitory courtyard. Xie stumbled back a few steps, but he was astonished to discover that he felt no pain. He slowly opened his eyes to see a gallant golden figure standing in front of him. It was Tang Wulin. "Boss!" Xie yelled. Tang Wulin sighed. "How did you provoke her this time?" This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.